Hello, you guys. It is Parker Leslie Gessner, aka the movie and TV show review guy here once again. So, hello, you guys. How have you guys? How have you guys been doing today? Well, I've been doing very good today. So, welcome back to the movie review of Scooby and the Goblin King from 2008. Yes, today I'm doing back to another movie review of Scooby and the Goblin King. This one again has Velma, Daphne, and Fred. The recent movie I reviewed, Scooby-Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf from the 90s, that one didn't have Velma, Fred, or Daphne. It had Scrappy-Doo in it. I know, I reviewed him in the Scooby-Doo movie, the live-action one from 2002. Uh, So the film was written by Joe Skitson. It's a 2008 animated film. Cassie Cousin as Shaggy Rogers, Frank Welker as Fred Jones and Scooby-Doo, Greg DeLisle as Daphne Blake, Nancy Cohen as Velma Dinkley, Wallace Shawn as Mr. Gibbles. Wallace Shawn. I revealed this guy in Toy Story and the Haunted Mansion. Haunted Mansion when he played this guy. In Toy Story he played Rex. Okay. In this one, he played the character named Ezra. In this one, he plays Mr. Gibbles. Hidden Pen Eterios Fairy Princess Willow. Jim Belushi's Glob. Tim Curry's the Goblin King. Tim Curry! I reviewed this guy in 2 movies. First one was Home Alone 2 Lost in New York. We played a hotel manager guy. Then It's from the 1990s where he played Pennywise, the original one. Wayne Knight as the Amazing Krutsky. Mary Jo Cabell as Klein. Rosie Taylor's Old Witch and Tittle, Jane Lynn as Jack-o'-lantern. From Agadox Hernandez's Spark blog and Lauren Beckhouse the Grand Witch. And for the setting for this movie, takes place and set permanently in a magical fantasy underworld known as Halloween Land. The story begins on Halloween night in the mortal world of Cruiseville, specifically in a dark, eerie carnival before shifting into the supernatural spirit realm. Cruiseville Carnival is the starting point of the adventure where the gang attends a festival and Shaggy and Scooby expose a stage musician named The Amazing Krutsky as a fraud sparkling the main conflict. The townhouse, the residence where Scooby and Shaggy were allowed to retain the memories of the magical events after they occur. Spirit World Halloween Land locations. The old Oak Grove Witch's Hut, a spooky forest where Jackie and Scooby met the Grand High Witch. The Grand Witch and her two fellow witches to secure a flying broomstick. Monster Bar, a watering hole populated by real monsters where Jack and Scooby end up after disguising themselves and attempting to convince the werewolf they're all werewolves too. Fairy Village, a small community in the woods where the duo crash lands and gets assistance from three fairies named Sparkplug, Honeybee, and Tiddywink. Goblin Castle Dungeon, the Dark Fortress form from which the Goblin King rules the Spirit Road. Where Krusty attempts to seize the ultimate power by stealing the Goblin Scepter. So now let's get into the plot of the movie without getting further too much away. Yeah, this is the carnival. So maybe starts off in the carnival where the Mr. Ink group is hanging out. They're on roller coasters. And then they meet this musician named the Amazing Krusty. Yeah, they meet the Amazing Krusty, who won't allow dogs into his magic show. So Jack and Scooby have planned to sneak into his show. And there they just expose him as a fraud because magic is not real. Krusty plans to get revenge on them, but then they all get kicked out of the carnival. So then they all start trick-or-treating. So then Jack and Scooby start heading up during the night, and Vilma, Daphne, and Fred will be waiting for them at the carnival. And so, back to the Amazing Krusty, he plans to take revenge on Jack and Scooby, and he starts looking for all the spells of the spell book. And he finds something in the book called the Goblin Scepter. He plans to get his hands on it and to do something powerful with it. And a fairy was watching. It was Fairy Princess Willow. Yeah, this fairy. So then Krusty captures her, takes her power. It's about the Jack and Scooby. They head to Mr. Gibble's magic shop. Yeah, it's Mr. Gibble's genuine magic shop. And then there they meet Mr. Gibbons. So he's having fun with them until Fairy Princess Willow arrives. He warns Mr. Gibbons that an evil musician has taken away her powers. And then the Amazing Krusty arrives. So he's messing around with his store, and then he captures Fairy Princess Willow, and then he turns Mr. Gibbles into a rabbit. Yeah, he turns him into one. So Krusty takes all of Mr. Gibbles' things from the story. And Mr. Gibbles tells them that they're managed that the. And then Mr. Gibbles tells them that he told Shaggy and Scooby that he's planning to get his hands on the Goblin scepter, so that he can fulfill his power. He shows them the future, that their friends will be turned into monsters. Like, Velma gets turned into a werewolf, Daphne gets turned into a witch, and then Frank gets turned into a vampire. But the Amazing Krusty turned into a Goblin King. And then Mr. Gibbles, he gives them cards. And then he warns them that if they do not get returned by sunrise, they will be trapped in the spirit world forever. So then they get on the train. And then Meat Sky gets turned into a werewolf. And then they enter the bar, and they ask the monsters if they've seen the Goblin King. But as revealed, no one ever feared to speak of the Goblin King because he's a dangerous leader. It's the Goblin King's henchman. Glum? Yeah, Glum and Glybe. Try to capture them till they find a talking pumpkin head. Yet his name is Jack. And then, they all join with, and then they're all being confronted. They all get attacked by the Headless Horseman who starts chasing them. He puts Jack on his head. And then they manage to escape on the bridge, but the Headless Horseman won't go on the bridge because he doesn't cross bridges. Come back to Velma, Daphne, and Fred. They're waiting at the carnival. And they wait for Scooby and Shaggy, but they don't appear. And then they discover that the Amazing Krusty is practicing magic in his workshop. And then calls Goblin King on the mirror. And he appears on the mirror and he starts tricking him that if he hands him the Goblin Scepter at the clocked hour, he may release his daughter, Fairy Princess Willow. And so the Goblin King forcibly agrees onto his deal. So then the Amazing Krusty is going to wait at the clocked hour to wait for the Goblin King. I come back to Velma, to Shaggy and Scooby with the pumpkin head. Head to the witch's house, and then they meet all these witches. That is three of them. One turns into an owl, and the other one turns into a cat. And then they give them a broomstick so that they can fly on it, so that they can head up to the Goblin King's castle. And then they get knocked out by the Goblin King's henchman. They get knocked out by the Goblin King's henchman. They arrive into the Fairy Kingdom. So the fairies, they get Jack and Scooby dressed as Daphne and Fred so that they could sneak up into the Goblin King's castle. And in the family, the Goblin King. It's the same one that Krusty talked to in the mirror before, earlier in the film. And then Jack and Scooby tried to take the scepter from him, but he obtains it, and then he locks Shaggy and Scooby in the dungeons. Well, he heads up to the clock tower to meet up with Krusty. So Krusty demands him to hand over the Goblin Scepter if he releases Fairy Princess Willow. So forcefully he has to agree. So Daphne, Velma, and Fred, they're planning to capture the Amazing Krusty, but instead they capture the Goblin King. And so then, unfortunately, the Amazing Krusty gets his hands on the Goblin Scepter. And then as he obtained it, he turned into a goblin himself, just like the Goblin King and all the other goblins. Yeah, look! Yes, when he turned into the Goblin King with the Goblin Scepter. So Krusky's going all around town doing this power. Back to Jack and Scooby. They were being locked up in the Goblin King's dungeon. And then they got rescued by the three fairies who have fixed the broomstick. Jack and Scooby start flying on it, and they go with Pumpkinhead to stop Krusty and to save their friends. back to Krusty, he has now become the leader of the Goblin army. So they're going after Daphne, Velma, and Fred and the Mystery Machine. And then they turn the monster truck into a monster. The Mystery Machine into a monster that starts chasing them. And they get stuck on the on the Ferris wheel, which I also remember earlier in the movie, at the beginning of it, Mr. Gibble showed them the future that their friends were going to turn into monsters. And then, yes, this was the future that was going to happen to them. Yeah. They get stuck on the Ferris wheel. And now, the Amazing Krusty turns his friends into monsters, as predicted as Mr. Gibbles had showed them earlier in the film. That Velma gets turned into a werewolf, Daphne gets turned into a witch, and Fred gets turned into a vampire. And so I just forgot to mention, Krusty turned the Goblin King into a goose, like a duck. And then Jack and Scooby arrive to save the day. So they're fighting the Goblin King, and then Scooby obtains the Goblin Scepter and he turns into a goblin himself. Just like how Krusty did at the beginning. Just like how Krusty did. And then Scooby takes Krusky's all of his powers away by throwing the pumpkin head on him. Scooby uses the Goblin Scepter to take the powers away from the Amazing Krusty. And then the Amazing Krusty gets stuck on a flag, like a stick. Then Scooby uses the Goblin Scepter to return everyone back to normal. Now the Fairy Princess Willow has finally been freed from the control of the Amazing Krusty. And then Goblin King turns back into himself. He obtains the Goblin Scepter. And Scooby returns back to normal. Then the Goblin King traps Krusty for, tricking him and that stuff. So Fairy Princess Willow apologizes to the Goblin King for what happened last night. And he's glad to have him back. And then and the Goblin King, he congratulates Shaggy and Scooby for saving the world. He doesn't know both of them will remember, but all the others will forget. So he and everyone, they all return back to the spirit world. So he takes Krusty with him. And then the next morning, Velma, Fred, and Daphne had forgotten what happened this night. It's very similar to Goosebumps 2 Haunted Halloween, where Sarah, Sonny, and Sam had remembered what happened. But their mom Kathleen at the store manager Walter had forgotten what happened. So then Shaggy and Scooby meet up with Velma, Fred, and Daphne again. And then they hang out. They happily hang out at the carnival. So that's the plot of the movie. So I really enjoyed this movie. It's a really good movie. And I liked all the characters in the film. I thought they were cool. I thought the story was amazing. But the antagonist film was really cool. I know. It was the amazing Krutsky. The Goblin King was kind of bad. Not really. He actually was good. So, it's about the songs in the film were really amazing as well. Yeah. I like two songs in the film, Bumpin' in the Night and Goblin Oogie Boogie. But the soundtrack was really amazing as well. And I thought the animation was really cool, and I also thought the direction of the film was really amazing. And I thought the background was really fantastic. And I also thought that and about the special effects were really amazing. About the visuals were really nice. And about the editing was really fantastic. And about the structure was really amazing. About the pacing was really fantastic. About steaming was really cool. About CGI was really spectacular. I liked all the monsters in it when they went to the spirit world. And I love some of the locations in it. And at first it took place in Coolsville, then it took place in the spirit world. About the characteristics are really amazing. About the cinematography was very nice. And I also thought about the climax battle was really amazing. I found the end of the movie was really cool. And so I really like this movie. It's like it's 10 out of 10, an A plus. So that I really like this movie. So thank you guys for joining my movie review of Scooby and the Goblin King from 2008. And don't forget to like and comment and share and subscribe to my channel. See you guys next time, and goodbye guys. See you soon until next time.